students, this is video number 2 for Ecology unit. This is a quick review of last lesson about the environment. You should know that the environment is made up of factors such as air, light, water, heat, food, and soil. What you're going to learn in the next lesson is how do plants and animals adapt to these factors, and also the fact that the environment and its factors determine what kind of organisms live in that particular environment. So that's what we're going to learn in the next lesson. So let me show you. So this title of this lesson is Adaptations of Plants and Animals and Environment and Environmental Differences. You're going to learn that environments have the same factors, but they don't have the same degree of those factors. Some environments are going to be hotter, some environments are going to be colder, and some environments going to have different rainfall, as you're going to see in the next slide. So these pictures are really helpful for us to understand adaptations. So let's take the example of a scorpion. A scorpion, his body is made up of this material called chitin, CHITIN. That material, it's made of protein and nitrogen and prevents water loss. So scorpions are in the desert, so they want to prevent being dried up by the intense heat. That is an adaptation that the scorpion has. The scorpion also has a behavior. It burrows, it goes into the sand or underground to protect itself from the intense heat. Those are example of adaptations, traits that help the organism survive in a particular environment. Another example is cacti. Cacti are the spines are modified leaves. Those are actually leaves, and they're very, very tiny and thin because the bigger the leaf, the more water loss. Also, an adaptation would be that a cactus is pretty much this is a stem. The stem is very large, and the stem also has water. It retains water. So, those are just some of the characteristics that cacti have evolved over time to survive in harsh desert climate. So let's go over environmental differences right now. So that's the problem is how does the environment determine what animals and plants live in it? Number one, adaptations of plants and animals. Number two, fitting in environments and differences in environments. So those are the three concepts that you're going to be learning today. All right, so just think about this. So think, what are some of the different environments that exist on this planet? And when we're referring to environments, we're referring to a term called biosphere, which I'll go over later. Biosphere just refers to the area on Earth where life is present. So pause the video and list them in your mind. Try to list as many um, environments you can. All right, so let's see what are examples of different environments. They're also called ecosystems or biomes. This is vocabulary we'll go over in a later date. So here are different environments: tropical rainforest, temperate forest, coniferous forest, or taiga, tropical grassland, Mediterranean, desert, tundra, and mountain. We also have ocean environments, aquatic environments. For right now, let's stick to land. So as you can see, just by looking at these pictures, uh, the environment has all the factors, but some of the factors are very different. And those factors, differences, is what determines the differences in the environment. What's an example of that? Well, the question is, what is different between these different environments? Pause the video and try to answer this question to yourself. So, what's different about them? All right, so again, the environments differ in their factors: the amount of water, food, temperature, light, soil, and air. Those are the main factors how they differ. Let's look at these two environments. Obviously, the desert has little rainfall. Remember, water is a factor. Also, air is very hot and dry. Obviously, we know that there's little moisture. But comparison to the rainforest environment, heavy rains, moist climate, very humid, very different environment, and very different environment is going to determine that there's going to be very different plants and animals in that environment. You're not going to find the same animals in a desert. Um, you're not going to find the same ones between these two environments. All right, check for understanding number one. So on your presentation, you're going to click that link and you're going to see if you understand it so far. All right, next part. Environment. So the environment determines the kinds of animals and plants within it. No one would expect to find animals with heavy fur to be in a hot desert environment. Likewise, we would not expect delicate flowers in an Arctic environment. So, depending on the temperature, depending on the heat and sunlight and all these factors, that's what's going to determine what kind of animals and plants can even survive. So, right here we have the picture of a bear. Bear has heavy layers of fat, lots of fur. Nope, you're not gonna find bears in a desert environment. They're not going to survive. They don't fit in that particular place. Plants and animals who are not fitted for an environment will die off in the environment or develop adaptations over time. So yeah, if you don't fit, the living thing will most likely die off, or it will develop these characteristics that allow them to survive through the process of evolution. So example right here, only certain types of plants and animals can exist in this environment. The environment determines who can live and thrive. Okay. For example, plants and animals that are fitted to live in a certain environment have characteristic traits. Think about those traits that we've talked about in the genetics unit that allows them to survive and function in that environment. These characteristics or traits are called adaptations. All living things, plant or animal, have adaptations for their environment. The environment is what forces living things to develop these traits um, over a period of time. So let's look at some examples. Camels, how have they adapted to their environment? Long eyelashes to keep sand out of their eyes, nostrils can close to keep sand out, being able to go for a week without water, white feet for walking in the sand, and store store fat in their humps. So do you see these traits are what allow the animal to survive in that particular environment? That camel and the snake and the cactus have developed these adaptations to survive in that particular environment. The fact that the environment is dry and hot has made the organisms have that traits in the first place. These are other adaptations. Birds. Fish live in water. To live in water, their bodies had to adapt. These adaptations include gills, fins, and a streamlined body. Birds can fly. They had to adapt. They have a streamlined body. So remember, if they don't have the adaptations, they don't fit in that environment. They're not going to survive. All right, last check for understanding. You're going to click that and going to see if you understand it. So, really quick, this is a quick lesson. By the end of this lesson, you should be able to understand that the differences between different environments. Oh, there's a typo there. I'll change it later. That the environment determines which organisms live in it, and also the definition and examples of adaptations. If you want to learn more, there's this really cool documentary called A Violent Eden in the Sonoran Desert, and it's an hour long, but it's pretty cool. It shows all the different animals and plants in the Sonoran Desert, and you have a better picture of the adaptations, the traits that they developed or have to survive or fit in that particular environment. All right, so I think that was all right. So I will post this on Google Classroom, and we will talk about this in class.